Okay, so um, I told Grace to inform you that I'll be uh, a bit late. I'll start at 8:15. So thank God I joined exactly at that time. So far so good. Any question, anything, any point of clarification? And if there is none, let's start with today's itinerary. So far, so good. Did you try your hands on the questions I gave you?
Yes.
Okay. I hope it went well.
Yes, it did.
Yes, okay. Yes. So that's how it's going to be like. A lot of questions for you to try your hands on, and then we will see how best we can move from there. So we did a lot of things last week. So today we're going to finish from where we started off. I'm going to move a bit faster. Some of the mathematical equations that you have, I'll just brush over it. And then so that when it comes to the Tuesday class, I will take my time and then resolve it so that it makes it easier. So let me share my screen. And then from there we'll see. Because I want us to start lesson 2 today as well. Because we don't have a lot of time to. So if you can see my screen, let me just take my pen. Yeah, so this is my screen. Um, yeah, so we did, just a minute, let me fix this thing off. So we looked at, so I think we ended at Buck. We didn't do this. So we ended, we ended here. So we did rationing with subsidy. Did we do rationing with subsidy? Yes, we did. Where there's a fixed unit. So this is where we ended, partial subsidy. And I would set a question on this and I'll send it to you so that we can solve it as well. So let's move to today's activity. What if, right? There is a provision, a free provision up to a fixed quantity. Remember, if you remember during the COVID time, they will tell you that if you use water up to this, there was electricity, but it was subsidized up to a certain fixed quantity. So that if you don't have, if you use water up to less than this, maybe it's free. If you use more than this, then you start paying. Right, so there are cases where there's provision up to a person's certain fixed quantity. If that is the case, what do we do? Now, remember we would look at the intuition and then we would, afterwards, everything I do here is about the economic implications of it. First, let's suppose that you have a quantity, X1, and you provide X1, maybe electricity. If during the COVID time, if you consume maybe water up to a certain unit, let's call the unit K or something like that. up to a certain unit. Let me call that unit K. It is free. After K, you have to pay a price. So let's say you have water and then maybe electricity, right? I don't know what's happening to my water, electricity. Water is free up to maybe if you can consume up to maybe 2 gallons. 2 gallons. After 2 gallons, you pay. Then electricity, the price you pay per what you consume. We also have a fixed income because your income is determined by that. The question is, how do we set the budget? Right? And for you to set the budget, you have to introduce what we call a certain new price, which we call maybe P1 or P prime. That's what we have there, P1 prime. Now, look at this carefully. If I spend all my income consuming P2, the electricity, remember, there's nothing free about electricity. If I spend all my income on electricity, then I'll have P to X2 equals to my M, my income. What if, so this is for this, but it is always not the case. Because I am enjoying something free up to a certain limit, right? Suppose you provide free up to K unit. What I'm going to do is to write a budget. And in that budget, I am going to say, for the extra that I'm going to pay, I am going to say, where's my eraser? I have, government is saying I should enjoy K for free. Let me just use, I should enjoy W for free up to K, which is 2 gallons. For me to know the one I am going to pay, I have to say my X1 minus the K gallons that I'm supposed to pay. Typical example, you have 10 oranges. And I say that take 2 oranges for free. Take 2 oranges for free. Just a minute, right? Let me tell, my sister is calling me. Let me just tell her I'm in class. But no class, I'm moving on. Okay, thank you. So if you have this, I have 10 oranges. Let's make a scenario so that we look at the mathematical intuition. And I tell you that take 2 oranges for free, the rest you pay. How many oranges will you pay for? How many oranges? Yeah, somebody has
Pay for
8.
8.
8, right? It's the same intuition we are using here. You have this quantity of oranges. I say take 2, so that's the key. So in other words, if I want to find, oh, where's my eraser? In other words, if I want to find the whole thing, this is what I do. In other words, for you to get it, it is this. The price of the first one. Remember, the discount, the free is on the first quantity. So it becomes x1 minus k plus x2, p2 x2 should be equal to my m. Why? Because I want to, k is free, so I have to subtract it to know how much I'm actually going to pay. If you expand the bracket by inspection, x1 p1 minus p1 k plus p2 x2 is equal to p1 x1 plus p2 x2 should be equal to m plus p1 k. That's how the budget line is. Why is it m plus pk? Now, in economics, we make an assumption that there is no free lunch. And the other assumption is that, assuming that there was nothing free, you would have paid for it. But since you are enjoying it, it has to boost your income. I am not going to pay for the orange. So what do I do? The extra income that I have, the 2 cedi or 3 cedi that I'll save from those 2 oranges, it adds to my income, 2 of us. So anything quantity-wise, which is free, is not really free. In a sense that that extra free that you are enjoying, the economists are saying value it and add it to your income because it's like an income surplus that you have. We'll come to income surplus and the rest. So please pay attention to this equation. So there is that, and this is how we draw it, the free provision. Remember, this straight line is telling you that it is free up to this point. Right. So this is your money. So your K, this is the free portion. After this, so this is, sorry, this is x2, x1. So your K1, this is free. From here to here is free. Afterwards, here we'll pay. So this is free. In x1, this is pay. So remember, if it is free, you are not going to spend your income. So you are getting what? Extra income. How? That we are saying that value that amount of money and say that you are adding it to your income because it is something that you shouldn't have gotten, but thank God we got it. So that is one. The other one is, what if, oh, why is this thing messing up? Let me just go back. So this is, remember, this is free provision. Now, up to a certain fixed quantity. Again, please pay attention. What about if there's a lower price after a threshold level of free quantity? What happens? Please pay attention because it's, you have to look outside whatever you see. What if it is free after, what if there's a lower price after a threshold level? So at the same time, we are just going to suppose that X1 is free up to, sorry, let me start. We are saying that the price of X1 is fixed at P1 plus C per unit of K. After K, the price to be paid is P1. Now, look at this carefully. This is P1 prime. P1 prime is made up of P1 plus a certain C. So instead of writing P1, you have to equate this equation. But remember, please pay attention. Remember that there is what we call a threshold level. There is a threshold level. So I repeat, here we are dealing with lower prices after a threshold level. So 5 is the threshold. After 5, whatever, you will begin to reduce the prices for you. So you go to a shop and they'll tell you that if you buy 5, subsequent one, you pay lower. Have you ever enjoyed those prices before? Has anybody enjoyed it before? You go to a shop and they'll tell you that, okay, if you buy, we have a threshold level. If you buy 10 of this, those of you like, if you listen to some of this advert on the television, they'll tell you that if you buy 10 of that thing, any additional one that you buy, the prices are lower. We will reduce the price for you. Has anybody enjoyed that before? Usually it's the ladies who enjoy. Grace, have you enjoyed it before?
Yes.
Because the ladies will always go to the market. The gentlemen don't go to the market. But
Yes.
the gentlemen, have you enjoyed it before? Nene, is Nene in? Moses, please, have you enjoyed some before?
Yes.
Yeah, please, talk. Okay, Nene hasn't enjoyed it before, but you see, there's always something like that. You buy, they say after this, we'll give you a reduction. Any subsequent one you buy, this. So how do you do that? You first have to take the fixed quantity that we get previously. That's my investing. Plus your P2. The second good is there. But subsequent to the threshold. So please pay attention here. Let me give you this. I am saying that usually when you do this, when we start using the figures, you understand. That's why I like the Tuesday classes. So just get the economic intuition and Tuesday classes. We'll repeat this using the figures and real scenarios so that you will see. And this is what economists go through, the micro household levels and firm levels, that's what they go through in order to understand what is going on, how to make profit and how to price, especially for firms. They need to understand what the consumer behavior is like. Then they can inform their production and other things. So please look at this. So one, the guy is saying that if you buy, let me use what that, let me use, yes, I do bargain for my water. So because for Everpure, let me use Everpure, right? Everpure, I use that one. Maybe Everpure is, I think the last time they said 10 cedi per bag also. So I go to the shop and I tell the lady, if I buy 10 bags, after 10 bags, reduce it for me. Then she says, okay, because it's 10, 10, let me not make it, let's say after 12 bags. She tells me that after the 12 bag, any additional that you buy, I am going to give you to you at first, at maybe 9 cedi. How do you cater for that? First, get a threshold, get X. I want to buy 10, I want to buy 20 quantities. After the 20 quantity, 10 bags is free. 2 is 20 minus your 10. All right, for the new price. But remember that the 10 bags that you are getting it at a higher price than the subsequent 10. So that is what we have here. And this is how you go about it, and then we manipulate it. And then here is a matter of change of subject. So at the end of the day, you will get something like this. Again, ladies and gentlemen, and this is how the curve look like. Instead of sloping straight, no, it doesn't. It slopes, gets here, and then it takes a kink nature. And this is how we write it. X2 is the maximum of this, given all these conditions. Don't worry about the mathematics that you see with the figures and the rest. We can prove it. I won't prove it, but when we get the actual figures, you will see how it looks like. Now, this is one of my favorites. The next one, remember we've done two things now. We've done provisions with a fixed quantity. We are also going to do, we've done that one with a threshold, a lower price after a certain threshold. The next one we are doing is what we call buy one, get one free. Book off. You buy one, you get one free. And it's done in most cases. Sometimes some of the shop will advertise, especially Hisense and Co. If you buy one, we'll give you an additional this. Or if you buy 10, we'll give you something free. And those of you who enjoy pizza, Terrific Tuesday is like that. So they put the price high. They put a premium on the big pack and say, okay, if you buy medium to large, then you can get one free, not a small one, or a small size pizza. For those of you who enjoy pizza. So let's look at how it's done in economic sense. So suppose that you have P1, your P1 is 2. With the clause of buy one, get one free. Right? So we let P, so this is how we do it. The price of P be fixed at £2 throughout. If the consumer has 10 to spend, how much is he going to get? And this is how it goes. Because for every one that you buy, there's another free. You buy another, it's free. Another is free. So that's how the curve looks like. For example, if I buy, depending on the one which is free, anytime I buy one of it, I get an extra free. So this is what it does. If I buy 2, I get 2 units free. If I buy 4, because each of them is, look at this. So suppose that P1 is what? £2. With the clause of buy one, get one free. So P1 is equal to 2. So anytime I buy one of P1, I spend £2, I get an extra free. If I spend £4, I get 2 free. Do you understand? Hello?
Yes, we understand.
Okay. So that's how it goes. And this is how it's done this way. And this is the axiom of the equation. Please, in this class, is there anybody who doesn't really like mathematics? Show by hand. You just don't talk. Show by hand so that I get to know. It means all of you like mathematics. Thank God. So I can move with that speech. Is there anybody who doesn't like mathematics? Please show by hand. Okay. There's no hand up, so I guess we all like mathematics. Okay. So this is how to go about it. And then with a buy one, get one, I would bring a question and then we'll solve. So don't worry about it. Just understand the algorithm, right? What we must know is that whenever you buy one, you get one free. So if I use $1, I am going to save $1 more. So if I buy 10, I'm saving 10 extra dollars, which is going to add up to my income. So we would look at that. Then the other one is when there is an endowment in income. And usually when we say endowment, what do you mean? Your income is not always cash. There can be stocks in addition. So when there is endowment in income, it means your income goes up by that level of endowment. So if my M is my income, it is my cash income plus any other endowment. I repeat, if my income is made up of my cash income or the income that you get plus any other endowment. For example, if it is stocks, right, then you have that endowment there. If it is other things apart from stock, your cattle, your whatever, they all become your endowment. So if you have any endowment, then this is how the whole budget will look like. It is the price, 1 plus this, plus the price of 2, plus 2, plus your cash, plus the various endowments. The various what endowments. So our endowment is what you see as this and this. In this case, there are two endowments, X01, X02. So that's how it goes. So the way we treat endowment is different. And then again, this is a budget line with endowment, and it goes whatever if there is an increase. Remember, an increase in the price of a good, assuming the goods are normal good, you consume less because you have less income. If a good increases from 5 to 6, you lose 1 CD extra for buying the goods. So you consume the total quantity that you can buy will be lesser than if it was still at the old price. So that's basically the whole theory behind this. So please pay attention to it. And again, please remember, in a Tuesday, when we meet for tutorials, I'll take this. We will draw it just like we did the other time. We will draw the curves and other things for you to understand it better. And this is if there's an increase in income, and you see that it's always a parallel shift. With the goods and normal goods, we buy more of each. Unless we introduce the assumption that one of the group is an inferior good, they tend to buy less of it and use more of your income to buy another of the normal group. So in today's world, basically, you don't have, it's not only about all that we have talked about, bulk discounts, it's not about buy one, get one free. It's also not about endowment alone, but individuals save. And when you come and do macroeconomics, they'll teach you about savings and the rest. And are you doing macro?
No.
No,
Okay, so
please.
you come and do macro. That's when you do aggregate demand and you listen to all those things that is going on in the news. I think Ghanaians are more interested in macro than micro. Meanwhile, the macro is the foundation. There is something we call borrowing and saving. Usually, if you borrow, what happens to your future income? What happens to your present consumption? If you save, what happens to your future income? What happens to your present consumption? Remember, if you borrow, you pay an interest. If you save, you get an interest on whatever you save. So they are synonymous. They are two coins, but they operate in an opposite direction. So basically, let's start with this. Today's income is Y1. Tomorrow's income is Y2. When we say tomorrow, it doesn't mean the next day. It can be 10 years, 20 years. Today's consumption is C1. Tomorrow's consumption is C2. But we try to differentiate between interest on borrowing and interest on savings. Funny enough, for all those who work at the bank, when you borrow, your interest rate is higher because the bank wants to profiteer. But when you save, the interest rate is always lower. I don't know. And well, it's normal if we look at the intuitions behind it. But take this carefully, especially the difference between borrowing and then savings, because we are going to move into it. So let's start with this budget line. And because we are looking at two different scenarios or two different two different times, that's today and tomorrow. We call it the intertemporal budget line. Intertemporal, between periods. Now, let's start. If you get your income and you don't save, you don't borrow, it means that all your income is spent on the goods. So that is it. What if right, there is an opportunity for you to borrow? The budget line will change. What if there is an opportunity for you to borrow? Remember, when there was no borrowing, you had Y, so there's C1, C2, C1, there was Y1, Y2, and then we traced it and said, okay, at this point, but if you borrow, then there's a problem. What is the problem? If I borrow today, my income goes up. True or false? If I borrow today, my income goes up. Okay, Isaac says true. Why? Because it goes up by the amount that I have borrowed. But not only that, guess the amount that I have borrowed is there. But there is a future income which would reduce. Why? Because I have to service what we call a loan. Let me go back. Let me go back. Please pay attention here. Today's income, tomorrow's. Today's consumption, tomorrow. Borrowing, pay, savings, the interest on them. So if there's no borrowing here, if I borrow, if there's opportunity for me to borrow, what is going to happen is initially my income is going to be here. Without borrowing, I'm here. But when I borrow, I cannot continue the same trajectory of consumption. Why? Because I have an increase in my income, but there's a consequence for borrowing. The consequence for borrowing is that I have to pay what? An interest. So it is my y plus y2 over 1 plus p. That's the interest I pay. Please pay attention. What if there's no opportunity for borrowing, but saving is possible? What happened? The same thing, I still have it, but this time around, my saving is going to increase my future consumption as well, and my future income. So C2. Remember, here, all the lines here, let me draw it here, is future. All the lines here is present. That's why Y1, C1, they are all present, today's consumption. This is future. So please pay attention. Anytime you borrow, anytime you save, it is assume that your future income will be equal to whatever you save from your today's income over 1 plus the interest rates that they give you. Unfortunately for Ghana, the R here is 3% or so. If I think my bankers give me 3% interest on savings, what can that 3%? Is it 3 or 1%? It's even less. Interest on saving. What can I do with that one? So please pay attention. In the same graph, look at what happens to your consumption and your future income. You are because you have income today, you've got to borrow, you can consume more in today's terms. But whilst you are consuming more of today's term, look at what is happening to the future. Look at what is happening here. Let's assume that you are able to consume up to here. Yes, you are able to consume today, but look at the future. The future, you have to reduce your consumption. What are we saying? That's economic intuition. Anytime you borrow, you reduce your future consumption. Why? Because the banks are going to come after you. Every month they will be that 200. Every month they will be that 1,000. Every month they will be that 6,000. What is happening to you? In future, you cannot consume your profit and enjoy it. But when you get the money, you can do a lot of things today. If you've ever gone for loan, the loan money does not last you more than 1 month. True of us.
I mean, the loan money will not last you more than 1 month, and it will get finished. But the servicing of the loan can take you 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. And sometimes some people are servicing loans for 5 years. That's the whole kind. So what we are saying is that when you go for loans or you borrow, you can increase your today's consumption. Let me even say today's consumption is intertemporal. Right? Let me say today's consumption is, yes, example, student loan. Thank you. I never had student loan, so uh, Folipuma, Mr. Folipuma, thank you. So look at this. Mr. Folipuma has given us a good question. If you are on student loan, when I was in school, they shout loan number, loan number. Then that was the time that these people started Accra Mall. I think I was almost completing when they built Accra Mall. Oh, yes. So the first loan the student had, they went to sit at the Accra Mall. Then pizza was not the issue. It is now that pizza has been introduced by the burgers who go to town. So they go and blow it and then come back. Within 1 month, it's finished. You service it in that time. When you start working, you service it to finish paying. So that's how it is. But if you manage to be saving, what is going to happen is that once you begin to save, in future, you can increase your consumption. Why? Because you have earned some interest, and because of the interest, you are able to what? Consume more. So what about if there is a simultaneous situation? You are saving and then you are borrowing. What happens? It depends on our assumption. We assume that the interest you get from your savings is lower than the interest you get on your borrowing. And it's true. If you go for a loan in GCB, yeah, I'm advising my people to come for it. It says what, 18% or so. So we are giving you a loan of 18%. Yet when I save with the same bank, at the end of the day, they give me 3% interest. So it's always true that savings, you get a lower interest. Loan or borrowing, you pay higher. Saving. So look at this from here. Look at what happens. I'm able to save this. Look at the steepness. Once you go for a loan facility, you can consume because you go for bulk money. But when you are saving as a result of that, you're able to save usually to the interest is lower. So you see that it's always lower. So what is the net effect? The net effect is simply going to be that you pay more, though at a reduced rate, compared to a situation where you just borrow without saving. Why? Because when you save up to a certain point and somebody says you need extra money, you get some small interest at the end of, if it's some credit union, every 3 months you get some interest. You can go and take the interest and then use it to cushion yourself. So this is how it goes. And just as I've already said, it depends on the magnitude and the slope as well. So, and this is usually in the domain of what we call financial economics. Right? These are in the domain of financial economics. So you can have both, just as I've said. What if they are equal? I mean, if they are equal, the net effect is that you don't lose anything. You will come back to the same situation in which you were. So that's the net effect. If the interest rate from savings and borrowing are the same, I mean, the net effect is virtually going to be almost the same. But believe you me, there's no way where the interest on savings is equal to the interest on borrowing. Um, and these are the various dimensions. But again, I repeat, we would take some questions and so basically savings and borrowing rate. What is the basic agreement? Usually we have what we call a kink demand curve. When we say a kink demand curve, is this demand curve which you can have it going this way, then it becomes something like this, or it goes this way and it becomes something like a drop. So these are kink demand curve. And I have answered this question, why are the rates different? Usually, some people argue that there is asymmetric information, uncertainty, risk aversion. And we would come and look at risk aversion in details. Uncertainty, we'll come and do the calculation. Information asymmetry, I will not touch on that because there's a course that you will do that has to do with information economics. And I mean, moral hazard and adverse selection, we will learn all those ones. And when you put all that, we say it is market intervention. Right. And that is the financial capital market intervention. Now, please pay attention. I'm not going to explain race, uncertainty and race aversion because there's a topic I'll treat full topic on it. My PhD thesis had to do with race aversion and uncertainty, right? But I did it in the agriculture sector, and it's interesting to know. Usually, in a financial market, what you must understand is that there's a lot of risk there. So banks are not risk lovers. They are risk averse individuals. So they want to hedge against making a lot of profits. That's what they will do. They will hedge. And that's what happens in the banking sector. So please pay attention. We'll come and treat it. Okay. This is one of my favorite topics when it comes to budgets, like leisure labor choices. Do you know that leisure is a good? Leisure can be treated as any commodity. And we want to consume leisure and goods. But unless we work or sacrifice for leisure, we cannot buy goods. So anytime you are working, know that you are reducing your leisure time. Leisure does not mean going to play or anything. It can be just being in your house, not working. So generally, households and individuals make choices between how much of work to do, how much of leisure to take. It's a combination. Anytime you are not working, you are taking in some leisure. In economics, I repeat, leisure is not about going for a fun trip. I mean, that's English language. In economics, leisure is anytime you are not working or you are not using those productive hours for work. So let's consume two goods. And the two goods are consumption goods, because whenever you work, the money you get, we assume you use for consumption, or leisure goods. Please pay attention. And it's one of my favorite topics. Because this comes into household, we call it household modeling. We want to model the behavior of the household. Now, there is a total time available, T, which we call 24 hours, not economy. Whenever I work, I am paid wage. And the price of the good that I use my money to buy is called P. And the time I use for leisure is called small t. C is my consumption goods. Capital T is the total hours available. P is the price of the good. W is the wage. So please pay attention here. Now, what is wage? Wage is the opportunity cost of leisure. What is opportunity cost? Is the next best alternative that you forgo. If I will get a wage, I must sacrifice my leisure time. And any amount that you get, remember, we are assuming that you don't save. Any amount that you get on your wage, you are using it to buy goods and services. So the price of the goods that I consume, see, is equal to the wage I get from the time I devote to work. Please pay attention. I have 24 hours, and the 24 hours, I must spend it either working or I must spend it at leisure. I must spend it at T, either working or leisure. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, my small t is equal to the total time I have available minus the leisure time. Therefore, I can say that my PC is equal to my wage into bracket T minus L. Take a second to look at it. Please, can I continue? Sorry. So, ladies and gentlemen, it presupposes that my consumption, therefore, is equal to this. Whenever I divide this, I'll get, so let me continue. So P will cancel P, so I'll get P is equal to W into bracket T times L over P. Now, look at this. It has an economic implication. The more hours you devote towards time, towards work, the higher your income. all things being equal, if the higher your income, the higher your consumption pattern. See. So it therefore does not surprise us that if you earn more, you spend more. That's economic intuition. So if you are going to do macroeconomics, you do the marginal propensity to consume, marginal propensity to save. Every time your income goes up, you consume more than you save. It's an economic fact and it's reality. Anytime you work more, you have less time of leisure. For example, I am here teaching. I could have been in my house, sleep, 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 and wake up. That's my leisure. I could have said, oh, I'm going to send my children to the playing field. Go and sit there and watch them play, 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 play. That's my leisure. All right? So anytime I spend more hours working, I reduce the leisure time. And it is associated with what? Higher income. And if I get more, I spend more. That is my consumption. So there is economic intuition behind it. But the question is it always the case? So, oh, where is this thing moving? So that is how we do it. So there's a leisure time of work trade-off. The more you work, the higher your income. If the higher your income, the more you spend. And that's the trade-off. You can see me doing all these curves and the rest. So that's all that is happening is what I'm explaining. But it's always not the case. Why? Because there are people who we call it when you do labor economics. At a point, any additional wage will not make any difference to them. So they will say, I'm not going to work. For instance, at my level, there is some jobs when you give it to me for an income, I'll tell you that I won't do it because it's not worth my time. Right? So there's always an optimal rate where I'll choose leisure over work. There's always that point. And it's all based on the slope. But again, we will not stop there. We will come and look at overtime. What is an overtime? What is an overtime? Hello? What is an overtime? Eric, what is
Yes,
an overtime?
yeah. Overtime is the additional hours that you would work over your normal time of work.
Oh, okay. That is one. Enoch,
Yes, sir.
what is an overtime?
Okay, well, in a work related, working outside your normal working period, and it comes with a wage.
Okay. Good. So that's an overtime. Now, I know you know overtime, so let me quickly move on to that. Working additional hours for an additional income. Good. So we all try to do that one way or the other. Unless, oops, what's happening? Please, can you see my screen? I think my screen went off.
Yes, we can
Yes,
see
can
it.
see.
Okay, let me put it back on. Okay, great. So look at this. Ladies and gentlemen. Let's assume you have an overtime. And usually when there's an overtime, they pay you a different rate. Right? I know that usually the overtime rates are higher. Is it the case?
Yes.
Just a moment, right? I'm looking for my spectacles on. Well, but get my spectacles. Okay, good. So look at what happens if there's an overtime. Interesting. Yeah, thank you. Interestingly, there is a need for us to look at this. Initially, we were of the view that our PC is equal to our WT. But if we introduce an overtime, our PC will be equal to the first wage that we get from working. That's why this is the case. And there is an introduction of an overtime. And please look at this. With the introduction of an overtime, you have two working scenarios. You have your time that you use for work. And the time that you use for work has been broken down into two. Maybe let me call this X plus K. Why X plus K? The time you use for your normal work plus the time you use for your usual time, overtime work. Some of you, it might not even be in the same organization. You go and do what we call in literary terms, we call it galamsey.
Galams.
Yes. Okay, you also call it galamsey.
Yes.
Ah, for those of you who do not know galamsey, get to know. So you go and do galamsey. And this is what happens. So the first R is this. Your W1 is time, the fixed time you use for your organization. Plus, how do we get this X? X will be equal to your T minus K. And this is the time you use for overtime. So your second wage plus what? T minus K. Oh, it's the calendar, T minus K. So this is how come this is gotten. Then we fix it back into the equation, and this is what we get. And the rest, as I say, is history. You can expand. Remember my T here, you can expand this. So please remember, again, whenever you do an overtime, it's an extra income. And with the extra income, you can spend more, you can save more. But people will only do overtime when the extra income is worth the sacrifice. If you have the opportunity to choose between overtime and leisure, and you know that the extra income is not worth your effort, you will not go for it. I've had opportunity to turn down certain jobs because, I mean, taking up those jobs plus even getting there and doing all those, it's not worth it. So this is how like the demand curve would be like. Remember now your hours of work has increased. So that's how it looks like. Again, ladies and gentlemen, what if there is an income support? So why are we going through all those things? We are going through all these things because if you become an economist, which we are training you to be, you must know that a once side policy does not fit everything or does not solve it. You must look at a peculiar situation. So in developed countries, they know when to give an overtime, when to do buy one, get one free, when to do quantity reduction. So for example, they will tell you that for the poor in developed country, when you use, they call it, when you use the electricity up to this thing, it's free. They know when they want to do reduction sales. Businesses know that they want to do reduction sales. I must reduce it by the quantity. Well, so as a government, you must, as an economist, you must understand these things so that when you even work in an institution that wants to promote a certain agenda, you look at the costs and then the benefit associated with it. Imagine and then move on with it. So another thing is income support. We don't have income support here. Okay, the only thing we have for income support is LEAP, Livelihood Empowerment Against what? Poverty. It's called LEAP. It's this Livelihood Empowerment Against Poverty. Right. Yes, against poverty. Good. And that is the income support we have. But then how much are they earning at all? And I also make an amount that I don't even remember. I even have to do a study on that because we want to know, are the intended beneficiaries really getting the value? So LEAP, right? So that's the income support that you get. So they receive, in our case, there is always a limited, so 500 to 1,000, I mean, what would I do for you? The whole year. So you receive a lump sum. What happens? If you receive a lump sum, what happens? Okay, per month. Is that the case? Then we will be classified as poor. No. Maybe, okay. Let's find out. I'm not so sure about that one. Then we all can apply for poverty status. And then I know usually the older folks and the rest. But then, so look at this. In another situation, the consumer is always guarantees a certain level of consumption because regardless of whether he or she works, you get the money. So there's always some level of consumption. It is after that, if you want to live a very ostentatious life, that you will get. So the challenge with lump sum support is always targeting. The challenge is always targeting. And sometimes in our law, if you read the law, the Income Tax Act, there's a portion that even gives you, if you have a children who is attending government school, after a while, you are supposed to have a tax reduction of 500 or a certain amount, which you can file for. It's in the law. But how many people will really file for it? Because some of the money they put there, it doesn't really add up to anybody's income. So ladies and gentlemen, you can have a situation where you have child support, and then it also comes with its own stuff. So it goes on and on. I'm going to ask you to read the rest. I think what we have left is not that much. There are only 2 slides or 3 slides. I'm going to ask you to read the Lancaster characteristic-based utility function, and please read about that. But various examples, and then we'll be done. Any question? Any question? Good. Somebody has placed it there for me. Good. The leap is payment vary based on household size. Okay, good. Yes, good. One eligible member, 64 payment cycle. Yeah. This is so 67, I'm sure. For eligible member, one the payment are made every 2 months. Payment are made every 2 months. So this is very, very key. Like we all found to be poor people. It's 500,000 every month. Won't you file for cheap money? Won't you file to be that you want to be a member of the Poor Society of Ghana? So this is where I will end my first part. Any question? When we meet on Tuesday, we'll take our time and go through the questions. And then we would, so Tuesday, we'll do a lot of questions because we've done a lot today. The last thing I want to do today, and then we'll close. Is it time for break? Not yet. Hello?
Yes, sir.
Not yet.
Not yet, right?
Break is 10 o'clock
10 o'clock
or
to,
10:30.
then we come back and come and continue for an hour.
Or
Yes.
2.
2 hours.
It's 2 hours. So from 12:30, 10:30 to 12:30.
Okay, so why don't I continue, finish it? Then you have a break, and then you come and continue the whole class, the rest of the class. So let me finish my section, and then you can continue. Is it okay?
Okay.
Good.
Okay.
So let me finish next class. So today, the next thing I want us to talk about is preference. I have this thing I get. Everything we do here is about preferences. Whether you buy, whether you do this, whether you do that, whether you do whatever you do, there is some element of preferences involved. So, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to start with preferences. Consumers have preferences. There's one song I used to hear, elephant you, elephant me, right? Different you, different me. So let's do elephant you, elephant me. Now, ladies and gentlemen, before we do elephant you, elephant me, we must make certain assumptions. Assumption number one. Consumers liking or disliking over different bundles of goods. Must be what? Captured. Again, we are believing that we are all well behaved. So if we are well behaved, then we must look at three things here. We must look at completeness, transitivity, continuity, reflectiveness, monotonicity, and convexity. Complete. When we say complete, what does it mean? Now, we say that two goals, A and B, are complete. If, look at this, if you prefer A to B and B to C, then of a necessity, A is, so let me come again. A is preferred to B. B is preferred to A. Then it means that you are not rational, but you are in, or let me use the word indifferent. I don't want to use the word indifferent because I'll come and explain indifferent. Nene, today lies Banku to Fufu. The next week, I meet Nene. I ask him, Nene, what do you like? And then it tells me that I like Fufu to Banku. It means Nene is indifferent between A and B. Because A, again, let's say Grace. Grace likes peche, so she likes shepe, so she likes chibo to pizza. And then I meet Grace the next time and she says, no, I want pizza compared to chibo. We say Grace is what? Indifference. Let's say I meet Mr. Moses Anson and I ask him, he says, oh, me, I like mangoes, fruit, so I like mangoes to oranges. The next time he likes oranges to mangoes. It's independent. In other words, what we are saying that preference ordering must be complete over all possible value. And that's the word. I don't know. Anything goes. It will not permitted. And that is the average Ghanaian for you. And we have Banku, we have Fufu. Sometimes when you go for a program, we have Banku, we have Fufu, we have rice. What do you like? Then say anything goes. That one is not permitted when it comes to preference. I don't know. It's not permitted. Is it okay? Have I explained this carefully, correctly for you? So that's completeness. If you like A, in all circumstances, you must choose A over B. I have a cousin who likes, no matter whatever you do, if you put jollof there, you can even cook a whole pot of jollof. If he wants to eat jollof for 3 days, he will eat jollof morning, afternoon, evening. He's a complete person. Then the second assumption is transitivity. What does it mean? What does it mean to be transitive? Now, in transitivity, It is this. If we say you are transitive, A is preferred to B, and B is preferred to C. Transitivity means that you prefer A to C. I like wachi compared to jollof, but I like jollof compared to wachi, compared to maybe gobe. So if I like wachi compared to jollof, I like jollof compared to gobe. So if you give me wachi in gobe, in all circumstances, I have to choose wachi. And another circumstance, we say that it is what? Internal consistency. And the individual is then said to be what? The individual is then said to be rational. I repeat, let's assume I speak to Enoch, and then Enoch says, I like mangoes to oranges. But when you give me oranges and pawpaw, I like oranges to pawpaw more than pawpaw. If I give Enoch mango and pawpaw, Enoch to be rational must always choose mangoes to pawpaw because Enoch likes giving orange to pawpaw, but he likes mango to oranges, so mango is superior. Please pay attention to the assumptions because I'm going to use it to do a lot of things. And this is what we call the transitivity space. This sign, what I've underlined, is preferred. That's how we call it. Preferred to. A is preferred to B, and B is preferred to C. It implies that A is preferred to what? C. So in all cases, C reigns supreme. In all cases, A reigns supreme. Sorry. In all cases, A reigns supreme. Why? Because A is giving me 2, 3. B is giving me 3, 1. Look at this. Please trace it. You are asking where I got it. This one, this one. So C gives me 1 here, 3. A gives me 3 here, 2. Look at this. This will give me, B gives me 4, but 1. I prefer A, which is 3 to than B or C. So then there's continuity. This is where it becomes interesting. Under the continuity assumption, if A is preferred to B, then bundle sufficiently close to A must be preferred to B. And there is no abrupt jump in preference. And before I explain, this is why I'm going to use political method. If A is an NDC man, and an NDC man will prefer to MPP man, anything closer to NDC, the person will go in for NDC. If A is an MPP man, and B is an NDC man, if he prefers A to B, anything closer to MPP, you will vote for it than NDC. Mistakes. If let's assume, I'm not saying that is the case, but give me the assumption. Let me just use it. Let's assume that Moses is an NDC man. Enoch is an MPP man. Eric is very close to Moses. During the election time, Moses has been disqualified. The people in that constituency, they are MPP people. And given that they are town sympathizers of the party, there is no way to vote for Enoch. Anything closer to Moses, everything is closer to Moses. So there's a goodwill associated with that. So they vote for Eric. I brought this out of economic context so that you understand that continuity is key. So there's always a continuity. Now, so if suppose A is 2 days and this one is this and A, something is closer to A, the people will go for anything closer to A. That is why in Ghana, there are people who will not have voted for a certain political party, no matter what you do, even if that party is not there. That's why they will tell you that if you put an umbrella there, people jokingly will say that if you put an umbrella there and it's a strong NDC man, they will vote for the umbrella. Somebody is joking and say if you put an elephant there and it's a strong MPP man, they will vote for it. It's because of continuity of preference. And this is how we represent continuity. Anything closer to A will prefer to anything closer to B. Then the other one is reflexibility or reflexiveness or flexibility. Now look at this. A consumer must be indifferent between what? Two identical bundles. Bundle A is weakly preferred to itself. Now, I will give an example is that if the goods are identical, then individuals have what we call a reflectiveness assumption. That's a weak preference. Why? Because they prefer A slightly to B. And it's usually the case when it comes to purchase of some commodity. For example, when you buy television, Hisense and how do you call that? What?
NASCO.
Good. Something like that. Something like that. And people, there's always a reflexiveness over them. Why? Because people say, they are virtually the same. Or if you go to my village where brand identity is of no essence to them, a TV is what? A TV, isn't it? Oh, please help me out.
Yes.
A TV is a TV, or a TV is different. A TV is a TV. So that's how it's done. They are not like you and I, where we want to differentiate. So that's reflection. And monotonicity. More is better. More is what? Better. What does it mean? The more I get of a bundle that I like, the better it is. And under monotonicity, we have three assumptions. We have strong, we have weak, and we have non-social. So if you have two bundles, A and D, the strong assumption will tell you that A must be preferred to D at all circumstances. And let's tell you that A must be preferred to, oh, like that. Just a minute. Let me open. No. Sorry. Thank you. It's not like your but no conditions to follow percent. So if I prefer A to B, B will always be preferred to A. Then there is weak monotonicity. If A is preferred or indifferent, then I mean it's not at all time that you prefer A to B. And the question is, why are we learning all this? Individual preference is very important when it comes to developmental issues and when it comes to economic decisions. You cannot build a bridge for people who do not prefer bridge to a school. If you build a bridge for them, they don't like it. Because if they have strong money, if they have any of the assumptions and you're able to do completeness, they will tell you that I will prefer a road to a school. Some will tell you I prefer a school to a road. So preferences are very important when you are economist and when you want to make decisions. You must know the preference for which you are trying to do a development. So for example, there's this issue about Popo roads, there's this issue about express road and all that. So sometimes when we do a survey, you go to the communities, you want to find out their preference. So you ask them series of preference. If I give you A compared to B, which one? Also, I like this. And if you come back as a researcher and you come and look at the data and say, most of them prefer a school to maybe a road. If you are a person advising government, you tell them, go in for this road compared to this. That's why we need to understand the preferences and what goes into the preference. There are some people who tell you that we have weak assumption. We have weak monotonicity, right? Then they are independent. They, as the accounts will say, you don't use them in saying anything because that's weak assumption. We want where majority of people are saying, to prepare. And then the last bit under monotonicity is what we call non-satiation. Here, we always say that the consumer will find at least another bundle in the proximity that makes strictly better off. I can't find what I want, but you will find something very close to what I want, at least, so that I can enjoy the benefit from it. Because I'll prefer anything closer to this than something else. Then convexity. And this is where indifference comes in. So if the consumer is indifferent between B, G, and B, then average of G and B, say F, is preferred or indifferent to G and B. And usually we say it is convex to the in this way. So please pay attention. We will draw the curve well. So again, under it we have straight and weak. And once I've explained the straight and weak, we should be okay. Now, this is where we begin. What is a utility function? When we say utility, what do we mean? It's a satisfaction, right? We derive from the consumption of a certain good or service. Now, let's take the axiom. So we have completeness, transitivity, continuity, monotonicity. If all of it hold, then we can model it in what we call a utility function. So, for example, I said this is called preferred, right? So the utility of A, if I use the U function, if I use this, then instead of me going A is preferred to B, I will say that the utility associated with A is preferred to the utility associated with B. The next thing is, what if it is indifferent? Then I'll say that I'll use the equal sign. So please pay attention. So anytime you see the U sign, this U means utility. And we are going to use a lot of the utility because that's what we are supposed to do. The utility element. Yeah. And this is the indifference there. And this is the budget line. That's the 45-degree line of perpendicularity. Sorry, this is the 45-degree line of perpendicularity. Sorry. So this is a 45-degree line of perpendicularity. And I would be using a lot of this curve to explain so many things. But the most important thing is that you are here. Anything on this curve, you are indifferent. So here is the most prepared. Here, because there's no budget line attached here to this here, there's no budget line. This point here, we say you cannot purchase it. It's not affordable. It's like this. Sometimes individuals want certain goods, but they cannot afford to have it here. Here, if it's A, I cannot afford it because, or let me just say, let me not even bring, I've not introduced a budget line. So let me say A is higher. A, whenever you move to A, you move to a higher indifference scale. Whenever you move to C, let's say C is here, there's also a higher indifference scale. And for indifference scale, we always say that you prefer a higher indifference scale to a lower indifference scale. Why? Because you prefer higher satisfaction to lower satisfaction. Why? Because of the monotonicity. More is better. I repeat, because of the monotonicity, more is what? Better. And all that I've been saying is what has been proved here. Any question? Any question? Any question, please? Hello?
Yes, sir. No question on my side.
No, I'm sorry. Hmm.
Hello, yes, sir. Please, I guess Tuesday we'll put numbers to this.
Yes. Who just asked the question? Your voice is no.
Eric.
Yeah, Tuesday we'll put numbers to it. Don't worry. Okay, it's almost 10, right? Let's give ourselves some break and come back in how many minutes? So that we can close early and then you can have a longer break. Can we give ourselves some 10-minute break?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay, sir.
so 10-minute break. Okay, so 10-minute break. So please, I'll come at 10:08 so that we can finish up. So 10 minutes.
Hello, are we back?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's finish up.
Yes.
I'm going to finish up. This is a short slide. After that, if we have more energy, we'll continue with the lesson 3 so that when we meet on Tuesday, we will solve a lot of practical questions. So, if I may, let me continue. So, I'm going to start with the indifference scale. There's a lot of calculation I need to do here, but I will reserve them for Tuesday classes because that will get the opportunity to do a lot of the calculation that we want to do. I would also go online and then after this class, let me even do that. I will send you a slide, which is, let me, once we wait for just a minute, let me quickly do that before so I'm going to put a certain slide in the chat. I'm going to upload all of those slides in the, how do you call it, the platform, the online system that the learning management system that the university has, so that you can easily have access to it and then be reading ahead whilst we wait patiently to have our class. So please endeavor to make sure you read. So I'm sending these slides, then we start with. Just a moment. Okay, so I'm sending it. Okay, beautiful. So let's move on. Another important thing I want us to, let me see. Oh, what happened? What's an error? How come? Just a moment. Okay. Telling me there's some error, so let me just correct. Okay, so I've sent it to you. Why? Because there are independent scales shows various combination of goods and services that the individuals are okay with or good with. Now, there are various shapes. You can have it this way. And when you have an indifferent scale this way, we see that they are perfect complement. And we call this the Leontief curve. A Leontief curve. It looks more like a Leontief, which I will explain, which when we start doing the mathematics, you would see. Again, in the indifference curve, you can have a 3D shape like this. And when you have an indifference curve straight, we say it is a perfect substitute. I repeat, when you have indifference curves which are straight, we say it is what? Perfect substitute. Please just hold on. We have something this, and this is perfect substitute. I will show you how it looks like. The next thing is that we can display the various forms of monotonicity and convexity. Remember, monotonicity tells you that more is preferred to less. Convexity is telling you that it is convex to the origin, that the indifference curve doesn't touch the body. The indifference curve at various points shows various combinations of those. So when I do this, this is one, maybe A. This is B. Both A and B gives you equal satisfaction, but they show you different combinations that gives you the satisfaction, right? So that is why we say it is convex to the origin. Again, I mean, this is what we are saying. Remember I said, whenever you are up here, you prefer more to less. And this is what we call the imperfect substitute strong assumption. And this is complement. This is how we draw the complements. Please pay attention to how the curves are, because that's what you need. Perfect complement means one good cannot be used without the other. Substitute, one can be used in place of another. And this is imperfect substitute, of course. And this is perfect complement. So these are the axioms. It's the same thing being repeated, so I won't talk so much about it. Now, there's always a portion you must take into consideration whenever you are doing preference and independence.
That is, do not mix convexity of preference with convexity of indifference curve. When we talk about convexity of preference, we are basically looking at area above a given indifference curve, or what we call the preference set, Q. Convexity of preference, area above a given indifference curve, or the preference set. Then we have convexity of indifference curve, that is the curvature. So this one, all the set here, where my dot is, gives you what we call the preference set. So within this area, let's say within this area, these are sets, these are the preferences, various sets. But when we look at the curve, that is convexity of indifference curve. So please note the difference. Whereas the curvature looks at convexity of indifference curve, the areas given within the indifference curve looks as what we call the convexity of preferences. What I've just drawn is this. So I talked about this, so I won't really waste a lot of time on it. These are indifference. Of course, this how it's drawn, so. And this you can read about. Good. Usually, ladies and gentlemen, there's always a slope. And before I move on, please, have you all done calculus differentiation? Have you all done differentiation before?
Yes, sir. Obi.
Okay. Please, anybody who hasn't done calculus should please raise their hand. Or if you don't want your colleagues to know, you can send me a private message. Let me know. Anybody who hasn't done anything calculus, differentiation, integration, whether partial or total differentiation. Okay, so there's no hand up, there's no private message. So I know that you know. Now, the indifference curve equation is what we have here. We would start introducing the figures, so don't worry. If I am going to do okay, so thank you. I will take my time. I am going to do a total differentiation. I can do a total differentiation. I can do a partial differentiation. And usually, when you see the D this way, straight, it means it's a total. When you see the D slanted, it means it's partial. Can I move on? Can I move on?
Yes.
Okay. If we want to differentiate this,
with respect to, I just want it to a total differentiation. I'm doing it with respect to the, so I want the u with respect to the x1. I can do the u, the x1. But if I want a total differentiation, then I do the u. That's as we've done here. Whenever you differentiate, totally differentiate this, you equate it to 0. We call it the first order condition in economics. Right? So you want to find out how it is. The first thing is you take the du with respect to the x1. You add. What am I adding? This is telling you that my focus is on x1. I take the u, the x1, then differentiate this again. The x2, the x1. Please, do you remember the quotient? Let me use it. The multiplication rule, the quotient rule, the power. Do you remember that? I don't want to start differentiating. That's why I'm going to take it easy. Okay, so all that we are saying is this. Please take an example. I take the first one. Yes, the product rule. Thank you. I take the first one. Look come here. I take the first one. I want the total difference of the u is equal to 0. The first one is standing alone. I differentiate u with respect to what? X1. So du x1 plus. Now, I take this u. The focus is on x1 in the first instance. So I do plus du the x1. I have done u, I have done x1. But there's also x here, x2, x1. So I come back and say the x2 over the x1. That is all what is here. And remember, all this is equal to 0. All this is equal to 0. If we're able to do this, we want to make the x2, the x1 the subject. So everything here will cross the equals line. So it will be the u, the x1 times the x2 over the x1 should equal to the minus of the u, the x1. I want only this. So for me to do that, it will be minus the u, the x1 multiplied by the x, divided by the x, the u, the x2, and something like this. Both are becoming messier. So that's how you go about it. And then you do a partial derivative. I mean, so at the end of the day, this is what we want. We'll prove this when we meet on Tuesday. I'll use figures, and when I use figures, you see that it's very easy to do. Don't worry about those things, because when it comes to mathematics, a lot of people don't like. I don't know why. And whenever we are able to do that, we call it the marginal rate of substitution. The rate at which you can substitute one commodity for another is what we have calculated. It's called a marginal rate of substitution. If it is production, which we'll do after next week, or we'll start next week. If it was production, you say the marginal rate of technical substitution, because production deals with technology. So that's why we put the technical substitution. So we have the marginal rate of substitution of X2 for X1. How much of X2 are you prepared to sacrifice for X1? How much of oranges are you prepared to sacrifice to have bananas? And if we want to calculate the diminishing returns, you do the second derivatives. And this is how we do the second derivative. Again, don't worry, I'll put the mathematics, and then when I put the figures inside, it's easier for you to know. And here we'll do here. What is happening is we are doing the quotient rule. What is a quotient rule? So you keep the top down, you differentiate it the bottom, you subtract it from keeping the bottom constant, you differentiating the top, then the bottom, you square it. And then you can find the derivative. So that's how it's done. So today is going to be, it's a lot of mathematics. And then we have what we call the Cobb-Douglas function. In fact, this is a function which was developed by two economists, Cobb and then Douglas. So they put them together, Cobb-Douglas. Read about it because we use it a lot in production. And when the product is homogeneous, constant elasticity of substitution, we'll come and look at this until details as well. So just know examples of these functions, and I won't go into Cobb-Douglas here because I'm going to do that a lot under the production function. In fact, the production function is going to be Cobb-Douglas throughout in most cases. Homothetic, read about this one. Just read about it. And then elasticity of substitution here also read about this one. I'll just, and then we are done. So just, I've given you from here, homothetic to elasticity of substitution. Just read about it. When we meet, we would just do the arithmetic calculation, and then you'll be fine. Any question? Any question? It seems today is a very busy day for all of us. Plenty things to do. If there's no question, I'm going to start with the last bit of it, and then we'll be done. The last bit of it. This is the first slide. It's going to be, this is the last thing I'll do, and then we'll be done. Then you have the rest. Our key thing is that all that we have been doing is, for lack of better words, just looking at the utilities. But one of the key things we want to do is, how do we maximize the problem? The consumer will always and always try to maximize his or her utility, subject to the budget constraint. You maximize your utility subject to your budget constraint, or you minimize your expenditure subject to your utility. It's just the opposite. So if this is my utility, how do I get the best satisfaction given the income that I have? And we can do that graphically. And by doing that graphically, we can find the point inside the budget line, because we want to find the point which is tangential to the budget line, which will give us a maximum satisfaction. And that is what we call the Marshallian demand function, or the variation demand function. So please put these two into Marshallian variation demand function. Anytime we are maximizing utility, we are doing the Marshallian demand function. The question usually we ask is, where we want to, how many solutions, one or many, where does the solution come from, interior or economy? And this is all shown when we remember the axioms. This is all shown when we remember the axiom. So look at this. How many solutions do we have? In this place, this is not U0. Doesn't really work. If you want the best solution, is U1. U1 is the budget line. The indifference curve must be tangential to the budget line. It must hit the budget line at a point. So if you hit it here, U0, it means you prefer this. Or you come here and say, I prefer this to this. And this is a weak axiom, which we don't want. We always want the strict axiom to be here. And this is what we are aiming at. Remember, we don't want the situation of maybe anything will do. No, we want a specific point. And that's what we want to do. And then based on that, we have this. Again, here is also weak. We don't want something like this, where we can select here or here. No. We want a unique point, and the unique point is U1. Where you are tangential, we want a situation like this, where you touch the budget line at just this point. And this is an imperfect complement. Remember, yeah. This is only where we want. We are not interested in this point and then this point. No. Anything above this point, where the stars are, is not attainable. You don't have the resource, because your money, the budget line is this. This is what your money can buy. So if you are here, your money cannot buy this one. Because your budget, you earn 10,000 and you want to buy a car, or you want to buy something worth 20,000. You don't have, unless you go and borrow. So we prefer this. And remember, imperfect substitute, we did that. This is a budget line. The yellow one is a budget line. And these are the blues. So these are called imperfect substitute. So enough of the graphs. Let's do the mathematics. To solve it mathematically, there's a need to introduce what we call the Lagrange. We can use the matrix formula, we can use the Lagrange approach, but the commonest and the easiest is to use the Lagrange approach. What is the Lagrange method? Ladies and gentlemen, please pay attention there. In the Lagrange approach, you introduce a constraint. You introduce a constraint. And what is the constraint? You introduce a constraint. Our constraint is this, that we want to, one, limit, put a monetary value to whatever we are going to. So we are going to subject whatever we consume to the monetary value. And this is how we write the Lagrange approach. Remember your utility, x1, x2. Remember your budget line, M is equal to P1 x1 plus P2 x2. So for you to have the Lagrange, is just put your utility, subject your utility to a constraint. L is equal to U into bracket x1, x2 minus. Make this the subject. So let this cross the equal sign. Minus this here, this sign, what I've drawn is called lambda. It's this lambda. P1 x1 plus P2 x2 minus M. That's what you have. Any question? Any question?
No, sir.
Okay, beautiful. So based on that, we do the first order condition. And when we do the first order condition, this is what we get with respect to x1. Then we'll do a second order condition with respect to x2. I put a dot here because it's just telling me that, I mean, there are a lot of, there can be some variables there, very differentiate. So then we do with respect to lambda. And based on that, ladies and gentlemen, we try to find the point of tangency. Remember, I said the point of tangency is the marginal rate of substitution, which is equal to the price of the equation. So what am I saying? It's just the benefit from consumption must be equivalent to the cost of the consumption. The benefit for which you enjoy a product must be equal to the cost of that product. Any question? Then I move to the second order condition. Just a minute, let me try something. Laptop. Laptop. Okay. Let's move on. So based on the differentials, you can find the second order condition or what we call the border protection. You can solve. And this is how we go about it. I'm going to stop here. The rest, just read. When we meet next week, we'll continue from where we left off. But when we meet on Tuesday, we have a lot to solve. We'll try and look at how best to go about solving this, and then we'll move on. Any questions so far? It's been a very hectic day with a lot of work to do. Any question?
Hello, sir.
Yes, please, you know.
Yes, sir. Please, I think some of us maybe we'll read and then Tuesday when we meet,
Yeah, Tuesday.
we have some
So
questions.
I have sent you this one as well. I'm going to send you.
Okay, sir.
I'm going to send you the maximization. I'm going to. It's in 3 parts. So I'm going to send you this other slides. I will make sure I give you all the information before we meet, so that when we meet, I can explain. So please do well to read. Again, the Tuesday classes are very, very important because that's the only time we get outside the normal class to solve. Imagine if I want to solve all these things and I don't all these things at a go. It's going to be something else. I'm sure by this time your mind is saturated with a lot of stuff. Too much
Sir,
to carry, eh?
sir,
Yes, please.
sorry, I'm joining for the first time today.
Please, who
So
is that?
I'm
Let me
I'm
check the name.
I'm Mustafa.
Yes, Mustafa. I saw the name. I wanted to ask. Mustafa.
Yeah, so I don't know how I catch up, where I get my slides and all that.
Okay, so I'm going to put it. Usually, I'm going to put the slides in the model platform. There's a learning management platform. From Tuesday, you can check on it. Again, I sent all the slides to them even via the Zoom chat. So if you have the Zoom chat, you can see that I've even shared this particular one.
I don't
Which
have
can, your colleagues can also send it to you,
Okay.
right? So this is what I would do. Mustafa,
Yeah.
just check on the learning management platform on Tuesday. You will see all the slides over there.
Okay. Thank you.
If you don't get it, get in touch with me.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I think you all have my number, so they can.
And are there reference materials?
Yes, they are. So I will send you all those materials. I'll put them. Those are big. Sometimes when I tried sending it the last time, it wasn't permitting me. So those ones I'll put them on the learning management system.
Okay.
Now for the slides, so that you read around, it's available.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
I have some of the books. I told them, so I'll populate the learning management software. Hopefully, by Tuesday, after Tuesday, you can have it. Or even when I get a good stable network, I'll just do that and then you can have it. So that's not a problem. We also agreed that we'll meet Tuesday from 8 to 9 to look at solving practical questions. So we met last week.
Okay.
So this week we'll meet Tuesday. So most of the things I see, you see variables, X, Y, and the rest. We'll set real life questions, real scenario questions, and then we solve it.
Okay. So
So you
8 to
can join
9
that
the
on
morning,
Tuesday. No, on Tuesday in the evening.
the evening. Okay.
Yeah, in the evening.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So please, if there's any additional comments, subtraction, or anything you need from me, please do well to get in touch with me. And then,
By the Asrav, is that your email address or
which one?
the Asravo at
Yes,
GTUC?
that's my email address.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So that's my email address. Again, I feel like giving you a question. Let me see. Just hold on. Let me give you some. One of the questions they wrote. Let me see if I can find it. There's a question they wrote. I've changed laptop, so it's making life a bit challenging. Let me see. There's a question here. Let me see if this what I'm looking for. So I'm going to send you some questions. Whilst you have 1 hour to relax, please take your time. Read that question.
Okay.
And then, wow. Good. Question 5. Question 5. So that's a nice question. So please just hold on before we close. Let me give you that question. Try your hands on them. When we meet, I'll pick a similar question. Maybe I won't solve this particular one. I'll solve another question for you to wait. So I'll solve another question. So please try your hands on them whilst you are home, resting, and waiting for the next class.
Okay. The timetable too is not on the students' platform.
I think it was shared with them, but don't worry, I can share it with you.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Send me your email. I can forward that particular message to you.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. So pick this question.
Okay.
I'm sending it by the learning management, by the Zoom link right now.
Okay.
Question 2. I'll call it. Let me call it discussion questions 2, right? Not just discussion. Discussion 2. So Don't worry, you will catch up with us. The more we do the practicals, the
Yeah.
easier it is for you. That's why I'm taking my time for us to do the practicals because it's very dear to my heart.
Thank you.
Mm. Please, by the way, please, have you all seen um, the slides I put on the platform?
Right now,
Yes. It's,
the
I
lecture,
sent it.
the lecture 3, utility maximization.
Yes, lecture 3-2. So there is
Yes,
one,
please.
I've
Yeah,
sent
we,
the first one, I've sent the second one as well. So you have two, let me see, where's the last one? Where's the last one? Oh, how did I put this? Good. Oh, this set one. Where's set two? Is there something online? Where are you? Oh, it's in the Dropbox. Hold on. Okay, so Dropbox. So so here we go, here we go, here we go, here we go. Okay. Please, I've sent the discussion too. Please confirm if you've received it.
yeah, I've seen it.
Good. So this is basically what we did today. And this was their question 5. Okay. AMA entities serves a junior, a cooperative leader, all that we have done today. So I'll get more questions and then we'll solve all that with time. With respect to the first slide, I'll send some extra questions later. Please, any question? Okay. If there's no question, then I will leave you. You'll have some 1 hour or so for tutorial. So please take it easy. And then I think you'll have the next class in the afternoon. So I wish you the very best. See you. And bye-bye for now.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
sir.
Yeah.
Okay, sir.